Hi friends, welcome to EduTap. Welcome to the live session where we are going to tell you how to approach Economic Survey 2017-18 document. During this live session, if there's any doubt that arises, kindly write in the comment section. We have our team at EduTap who's going to help you out with your queries. Let us just wait for 1 or 2 minutes. People are joining in. We would like to thank you for your enormous response that we have got for the previous live sessions. Kindly let us know any specific topics on which you would like us to take live sessions. We shall be starting within a minute or two. Kindly drop in your queries in the comment section. So just let us start with the session. So basically, what are we going to do in this session? So in this session, we're going to tell you how to approach this important document, that is Economic Survey. Now friends, before we begin, we should understand that there's a myth among students regarding this important document that is released. So actually, what is the myth? Students usually feel that this particular document needs to be studied cover to cover, line by line. But is it practically possible? We all know that we have time constraints. Plus, it is not right to just keep learning or reading each and every line from the Economic Survey. Usually when we analyze the previous year questions also, we rarely get questions that are very direct from the Economic Survey. So are we saying that Economic Survey is not important? No, we are definitely not saying so. Economic Survey is important, but what we are trying to tell is there is a proper way to prepare Economic Survey for our examination. So what needs to be done? How do we prepare? Now, extrapolation is the key that we are talking about, right? So what is this extrapolation that we are talking about? Basically, when we say extrapolation, we say that when we study a particular topic or a question, we need to go into the background of that particular topic. It is not feasible or it is not right to stop with just that particular information. We need to go into the background and cover a particular question from all the dimensions. Now, when we talk about extrapolation, are we trying to tell that we need to learn everything under the sun? No. What needs to be done here? We need to link each and everything to the syllabus of our examination. Only when we prepare this from the point of view of our syllabus are we doing justice to our preparation. Because we know that time is gold. We cannot afford to waste time, right? So we need to judicially use our time. So now to meet this particular purpose, EduTap has come out with MCQs on this Economic Survey document, which is having detailed explanations along with video solutions, right? Now, let us go into detail as to how are we actually going to cover it, okay? So, we are going to provide you chapter-wise MCQs, right? We have a total of 19 chapters, so there would be more than 200 questions that we would be giving you. For each of the questions, we shall be giving you very detailed explanations, right? And we shall be explaining you those explanations through videos. Now, here comes the point that we have been getting a number of queries, number of emails, calls that why aren't we providing you summary? Why are we directly jumping to MCQs? Now, there is a reason behind it, right? Let me just explain it to you that why are we covering Economic Survey 2017-18 document through chapter-wise MCQs. Now, what happens is when we cover a certain portion through MCQs, there are a number of things that we are doing right. Now, what are those things? The first part, as I told you that the key to preparation is linking those chapters to our syllabus, right? So when we take MCQs and start solving them, immediately there's a linkage that keeps forming in our minds, right? We immediately see that particular question, and if we are thorough with our syllabus, we can immediately link it to that particular topic in our syllabus. Now there is a catch. We have already done half of our job. Right? Now, next thing. Now, when we take a particular topic, what we do is when we go into the background of that topic, I'm talking about the extrapolation here. So, when we are going into the background of that topic, what we are doing is we are actually revising our static part. That we are doing it unknowingly. So, what we are doing here, we are parallelly taking our preparation. We are simultaneously doing a static part revision as well as we are preparing our economic survey. Right? Next, we come to the third important use. The third important use is effective use of time. Friends, we all are running short of time. Many of us are working professionals. Many of us are maybe, having other exams to prepare as well. So there is a time constraint with everyone, right? So what we require a very, very judicious use of our time, right? And for that, we have come up with this unique way of covering economic survey 2017-18. That is done through MCQs. See, even if you are reading a summary, you are again going to come back and solve MCQs which are framed from that particular summary. Right? Now, while answering those MCQs, there might be certain times where you're not able to solve the questions because you would not be able to retain that much of information. So why not just directly start from MCQs, right? Now, here you need to understand that what we are trying to tell you is don't expect to test yourself through these MCQs. Basically, you're going to be through a learning process when you're going through these MCQs. So just go with the mindset that you're going to actually learn economic survey through these MCQs. So rather than testing you whether I know this question or not, oh, I have actually got an incorrect answer for this question. Oh my God, I don't know economic survey. No, nothing like that. So when you're approaching a question, just go with the mindset that, okay, so this is the information that I've got through this question. And this is the background information that I've got. So these are the things I need to know. So next time when you're going to attempt that question or anything which is related to that question, you're not going to make a mistake there, right? Because you had already solved it. Next comes the other fourth important thing that we are going to do through these MCQs is easy retention. Believe me, friends, whenever we are doing something through MCQs, there is a psychological effect that it retains well. We are actually able to remember. When we are studying so much of data, we actually tend to forget. That is human tendency, right? So when we solve them through MCQs, it helps us to retain them, right? So that is very important for us from the point of view of our examination, because there is no point in spending so much of time reading the summary, again solving the MCQs, but still not able to retain them. So what is the use, right? So easy retention can be done only through our MCQs. Next comes the last and the very, very important part. That is quick revision. Yes, friends, it's a very effective way of revising. That's why we always tell you that whenever you take an examination of MCQs, the first thing, that particular answer that you mark is important. Second thing, the explanation of that question is again important, right? And the third thing, the revision of those MCQs is important. Only when these three components are clubbed together is your preparation holistic. Only then your solving MCQs makes sense or makes purpose. Now, friends, the thing is, to make economic survey 2017-18 easier for you guys, what we have done is we have taken the survey and we have covered various dimensions, right? Now, let me tell you all what are those dimensions that we are talking about, okay? So here, let us have a look at the dimensions first, right? So we have divided the entire survey into the following dimensions. First, let us have a look at the dimensions. And as we move further, we are going to see how are we actually going to cover those dimensions, right? And what you need to do as part of your homework, right? So the first thing, facts and figures. Economic survey is famous for facts and figures, right? So there's one dimension of ours, which is facts and figures, right? The second thing, concepts and static part. So from those facts and figures, we have also derived our concepts, and there are other concepts as well. As we move further, we are going to understand this through examples. So right now, just concentrate on the dimensions that we have picked up from the survey. The third dimension that we are talking about is any new term, any concept, law, phrase that we find in the economic survey. The fourth dimension that we are talking about is schemes. These are very, very important, right? And the next and the last dimension is reports. Now, friends, does our duty stop with just knowing, okay, these are the dimensions from the survey? What do we do next? As I am telling you, and this is the repeated thing that you need to entrench in your mind, that link everything to the syllabus of your examination. That is the right way to go, right? Okay. Now, in the previous live session of ours where we were decoding ESI, we had actually told you a very beautiful thing that, ESI is like an ocean where first oar is the static part, second oar is the current affairs. Both of these have equal importance, right? Now, where do you get the direction from? You get the direction from the syllabus and previous year questions. These two things are the key for you guys, right? Now, keeping these things in your mind, form a framework now. So we had already seen the dimensions that we need to cover from our survey document, right? The second thing at the back of our mind is, what do we need? We need a proper direction, and that direction is provided to us by syllabus and previous year questions, right? Now let us move forward. Now comes your part, right? We have given our part, that is we have divided the dimensions from the survey, and we have told you what is the mindset that you need to have. Now, this is your part that you need to do. So what you guys have to do, let us see one by one. We'll be picking each dimension, and then we will be seeing what is your role in that, right? So the first dimension is facts and figures. Now, our survey is replete. There is plenty of data, plenty of numbers doing jugglery here and there, right? So what you need to do? Memorize. Now you would ask me a question. Do I need to memorize all the facts that is given as part of our survey? I would say no. Memorize only the relevant data that is important. How do I come to know what is the relevant data? We are going to do the job for you. Now we are going to do the job for you, right? So what we shall be doing is, we shall be framing questions in such a way that we are going to pick up only the relevant data that is required, right? Next comes the concepts and the static part, right? Now this dimension is very important. How do we do it, right? See, the first thing is, before you move forward, just understand one thing. These dimensions that we are talking about do not have watertight compartments, right? You don't need to restrict yourself to one dimension. Just flow, okay, from one dimension to the next. So when we are talking about this concepts and static part, you need to actually first read the definition. Understand what it means. Like for example, GDP. Just understand that. What is GDP? Now comes the second thing, link it with the facts and figures. When you're understanding what is GDP, just memorize the relevant or the recent data which is related to GDP, right? Now, the second thing, once you're done with the concept part, you should be able to solve the inference-based questions as well. Now, what do I mean by inference-based questions? Now, once you're done with the concept, you need to answer those questions that actually practically use those concepts. Now, these things which I'm talking about would become more clearer to you as we go ahead and pick examples one by one and understand these examples, right? Now, coming to the third thing. The third dimension of ours is any new term, any concept, any law, phrase, etc. that is given as part of the syllabus. Usually, economics survey comes up with this abbreviations, certain new laws that come up. So it is important, obviously, because it is given in the economics survey, right? So what we need to do we need to read them again under the sun, everything? No, we need to read it as per the syllabus. This is our key again. I'm mentioning this again and again because I want you to get this right. Never do your preparation without linking it to the syllabus. We will be going nowhere. right? And next, search the current affairs which is related to this particular concept, law or phrase, if any. Form a linking. That is very important for us, right? The fourth dimension that we are talking about is schemes, right? Now, what you have to do as part of this? Extrapolate it. Earlier also I discussed about extrapolation. Now, you would ask me, we need to extrapolate and read everything? No. Memorize only the relevant data. How would you know the relevant data? Two things, right? First, linking it to the syllabus. Second, previous year questions, right? These are the two things that are your ultimate resources, right? Because of these things, we are selecting only those MCQs that are relevant. Then comes the last dimension that we're talking about, and that is reports, right? Same thing goes with reports. Extrapolate it and memorize the only relevant data. Now we have understood all the dimensions. We have understood what you guys have to do, right? Now what we shall be doing is, in each dimension, we shall take examples, right? From those examples, let me practically show you how do you need to go about, right? Here our intention is not to discuss the answers or which is correct, which is wrong. No, I'm just going to tell you how do you take the question, how do you approach the question, and why, what is our intention behind coming up with these MCQs. Okay, so here, let us go with the first thing. Here it says, according to Economic Survey 2018, what is the expected growth rate of India in 2017-18? Now, these are examples for facts and figures. Okay. The first thing you need to do, memorize the data, because that is what you need to do, right? That is the question that they have asked. But is my preparation going to stop here? The answer is no. Now goes the formula or the concept of extrapolation that we have been talking about all this while. So next, what should be the thing that you need to do is go further. Think about growth rate. In India, how is this growth rate measured? What are we doing? We are using GDP. Okay, we have come to GDP. Now what? So we also have GNP, we also have NDP, we also have NNP. So what are these concepts? Familiar, right? These concepts are familiar to us. Okay, just link this. It is linked to the measurement of growth and national income chapter of our ESI paper, right? So what are we doing here? We are not only memorizing the data which is relevant for our examination, we are going a step further and we are going into the background. And here it is. We have revised our static portion. That is what our intention should be. Parallel learning. Learning the relevant facts plus learning our static thing as well, right? Next, coming to depreciation. Then again, just make a flow. What are the three approaches undertaken for calculating GDP? Again, it comes to your mind when you're talking about GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP. Come on, move ahead. Market price, factor cost. What are these things, right? So this was a table which was given in our economic survey. And basically, we have framed this particular question from this. Right, so when you just read summary, it is not very appropriate or feasible for you to just go to a growth rate and say, okay, this is important. No, we have picked that for you. We are doing your job easier, right? Okay, so let us have a look at the second question. This question says, according to Economic Survey 2018, which of the following sector or segment showed the highest growth rate of GVA at constant basic prices in 2016-17? Very direct question. They're just asking you segment or sector. This is a factual one. You need to memorize it, right? No other way. The second thing, extrapolate. What is the other thing that you can get out of this question? You can actually see these basic prices which is written. Just go ahead, search what is basic prices, right? We have provided you explanations. In that we have mentioned how is it different from the other prices. So this is the homework or the background that you need to do. Only then is your particular question complete. Moving to the next one. Here it says, as per the fourth advanced estimates of food grains production, it has been estimated that the output of food grains would be of the order of what? There's nothing much to do here. Just memorize these facts, right? Just retain them, revise them as many times as possible. Now, coming to the next part, according to Economic Survey 2018, the real per capita income, okay, measured in terms of per capita net national income at constant prices is expected to increase to what in 2017 and 18. So, we have picked this up from this particular paragraph, which is there in our Economic Survey. A very direct memorizing question. Just memorize this, right? Now starts our journey. So, what we need to do here? The question talks about what? Real per capita income, right? How is it calculated? What is the formula for it? What is its significance? What is the limitation? So what are we doing here? We are memorizing the data. We are linking the data to a syllabus. We are then extrapolating it and having a revision of our basic part, a static part as well, right? Now let us move on and see what are the other things that we can discuss. Okay, so there was a question which is which of the following company has launched S&P BSE Bharat 22 index to track the performance of select state-run companies in which the central government has divested its stake, right? So there was a mention about Bharat 22 in a particular para in economic survey. Now, what happens is when we give you a summary, you might tend to read this information. No doubt, you would read it. You would immediately spot Bharat 22, you would read it. But what is the orientation? What are the things that you need to know? And sometimes you would just read it and not actually know what you're doing with it, right? Only when you effectively utilize a particular information, that information has a value. Otherwise, it doesn't, right? So here we are doing that work for you. We are providing value to the information, right? So here, what is it? Here, how do we extrapolate? We check upon what is Bharat 22 index, right? Who manages it? What is exchange traded fund, ETF? Here again, we are linking to our finance syllabus, right? What are the sectors covered by it? Now, government's migration from the disinvestment-based approach to investment-based approach for central public sector enterprises. Now, these are the things now you have holistically prepared this particular topic, right? So, this is the way. Kindly approach all these questions in such a way. And our explanations are framed as such that you one by one keep solving these questions. Now, the next question comes. So, as per the first advanced estimates released by CSO, the growth rate of gross value added at constant basic prices is estimated at 6.1% in 2017-18 as compared to 6.6% in 2016-17. So, which of the following is incorrect regarding gross value added? Now, this question in itself is an example of extrapolation. In the question, they have already given you data. Memorize this data, and keeping that data as a background, they've directly come to the topic. So we are talking about here what? Gross value added, right? So what is the takeaway that you can do here? So you just do a bit of homework. How is GVA different from GDP, right? Solve this question here. Finish off your confusion then and there, right? What is the relation between the two, right? And then move on, memorize the relevant data. Job is done. Right? So you have memorized the relevant data, you have revised your static topic, finish, question is over, right? Move to the next one. Okay, so according to Economic Survey 2018, in the recent years, the wedge between the real and nominal GDP growth has narrowed significantly. Which of the following is incorrect about real and nominal GDP? So here comes the concept where we are talking about real GDP and nominal GDP. So friends, sorry, I haven't mentioned that we are seeing the examples related to the second dimension, that is concepts and static part. So when we are doing this, just a minute, yeah. So when we are doing this, what we need to do is when we are concentrating on a concept, simultaneously start linking with the data as well. So now what you're doing, you're forming a linkage between the two dimensions that we are talking about, between facts and figures and between concepts and the static part. So once I'm learning about GDP, I'm doing my concept done there. But at the same time, I'm linking my mind and taking it to the relevant data. So what I've done, I've finished with one arrow, I finished two things. I finished my concept learning as well as finished my data remembering, right? So we need to move parallelly with these dimensions, okay? So here in the question, we were discussing about real and nominal GDP. So just see what is this? What is the significance of these two? And now, based on this, having this as background, we come to a new thing, that is GDP deflator. What is this concept? It is there in the explanation. So kindly move ahead one by one like this. So we have taken this from this particular para that was there in the economic survey document. Okay, friends. So here we are moving into the third dimension of ours, or maybe the second dimension, our next part, that is concept static inference-based questions. Let us see the example. Now, the appreciation of the rupee in real effective exchange rate terms indicates that India exports what, right? So now, what we have done, we have understood certain concepts. Now comes to test our understanding of the concept. Only when we have understood the concept well can we answer such type of questions. So our base should be concept strengthening here, right? So when you look at this question, immediately there should be a chain of thoughts that should form, right? You should immediately answer the question, what is appreciation of rupee? What is depreciation of rupee? What is its effect on imports and exports, right? Immediately move on. What is nominal exchange rate? What is real exchange rate? What is need? What is read? So all these things you would find in our explanations, right? So when you're just doing the summary, your thought process would just stop to this sentence, which is given in the economic survey, right? You would just read the sentence and that's it. Your thought process ends there. But when you solve it in the form of MCQs, when you see the explanation that is given underneath, you would actually realize that there is more to it. This one sentence can actually, open up a Pandora of concepts that you need to learn for your examination, right? Let's move to the second example. We are again continuing with the inference-based questions only. So here we see, according to Economic Survey 2018, differences in the nominal growth between GVA and GDP have also increased in the last few years. This is indicative of what? Now, friends, immediately your mind should strike. We actually saw a question on GVA, right? And when we were reading that question, we actually were discussing that we need to understand the difference between GVA and GDP. Now, if we had solved that question properly, if we had done our homework well, we had gone through the explanation well, this question is going to be a cakewalk for us because we have got our concepts right. Now we should just apply those concepts, right? So here comes the application part of our understanding. It is very important. Don't just blindly go with the concepts. Understand the concepts, what it actually means in real life, right? Now, we have come to the third dimension, that is the any new term, phrases, law, etc. So here we have a question which talks about which of the following is the most accurate description of Engel's law. This is very important, right? So we saw a mention of this in the form of this box which is given in our economic survey. You guys can see it here. Now, when we provide you a summary, what the max we can do is take a screenshot and give you guys, right? So, but it is not going to help you out. Now, we have framed a question on this Engel's law, right? So that you are able to actually understand and retain what is it, right? Okay, so we have come to the fourth dimension of, schemes. Now, this is very important component for us because we know the importance of current affairs in any competitive exam and specifically RBI Grade B and NABARD Grade AB examinations, right? So let us just move ahead with this section. We shall be patient and we shall see actually how do we need to approach these questions, right? So, the first question that we're discussing under this dimension is, which of the following is incorrect regarding Ujjwala Yojana? So friends, now here we are not, this purpose of this session is not to discuss the answers. So I would not be discussing the answers with you. I would just discuss the approach, right? So here, when you're looking at this particular question, immediately again, start your chain of thoughts. What is your chain of thoughts that should start? It should be like, what is the launch year of this particular scheme? And there were some recent changes that were made in the number of beneficiaries related to this particular scheme. So you need to immediately pick on those changes because that is important. It is a part of the current affairs. So if you're regularly following current affairs, you would actually be able to connect that yes, there was a change in this particular scheme, right? So there lies the key, keeping yourself updated and moving along with the static part, right? Next comes the question, who are eligible, like who are the beneficiaries, right? Again, there was some change in the beneficiary eligibility. Okay, just go and have a look at it, right? Then there was some mention about Ujjwala Plus in the economic survey document. So you need to actually have a look at what this actually means, right? Then let us have a look at what are the number of beneficiaries which are covered so far under the scheme. So see, there's this one question which was just mentioning Ujjwala Yojana, and we had actually listed so many things that we need to know. Now, these things that we need to know are actually keeping in mind the syllabus of our examination, the previous year questions trends. So keeping that in mind, we can relate. Okay, so these kind of questions are expected. We need to be prepared. Right? So this was taken from this particular para of our economic survey. There was a mention about this scheme, right? So this concept that we're talking about, or this approach that EduTap is talking about, is basically extrapolation, right? Take this particular scheme and extrapolate it. Any question that comes from here, we should be able to solve it, right? Next comes a question which was related to how many smart schemes are proposed to be developed by the government of India in the period of 5 years, right? Now start your chain of thoughts. What should it be? What is the concept of smart cities? Link it to the syllabus. Where does it fit in? It fits in the topic of urbanization of our ESI paper, right? Next, move on. What is the funding pattern? Any latest additions? Like what is the latest city that is added to the smart city mission, right? You need to know those things. Those are factual questions, right? Then, which is the implementing agency? Now see, what we have done, we have taken this one smart city question, which was just asking us the duration and the number of cities, and we have moved it on to all these things, right? So kindly follow this approach. Okay, so let us just see one more example related to this dimension of ours, that is schemes. So DASH is a nodal agency for implementation of Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, right? So again, we'll start our chain of thoughts, right? What is the launch year? What is the objective? What is the target? Target is very important because it is also mentioned here, right? And there is an information which we have given in the explanation of this particular question, that there was a Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana that was subsumed under this particular scheme. Now friends, always keep in mind when you're approaching such questions, you always keep a tab on whether any of the scheme is subsumed under it, or is this a revamp of any previous scheme. So these are the things that you need to know. Just superficially knowing a scheme will never help you out, right? And then on parallel lines, on similar lines of this scheme, there was a Saubhagya scheme that was launched, right? It is very important for you to know about this scheme, right? So this particular, the reason why we framed this question is there was a mention of this particular scheme in the economic survey, as you can see in the screenshot that is there on your screens. Moving on to the next dimension of ours, these are on similar line of our schemes dimension, right? So this is the report dimensions that we're talking about. Let us have a look at the examples, right? So according to the UN World City Report 2016, by 2030, India is expected to be home to how many megacities with a population above 10 million? Now, you can see here in the screenshot that this is mentioned here according to the UN World Cities Report 2016. Now, that is it. Our job is done. We have picked up this report. Now, we will start our chain of thoughts, right? So, who actually has brought out this report? Now, when we get this answer, we would automatically come across something which is called New Urban Agenda. Dig on that, okay? We have given all these things in our explanations, right? Then we would immediately move on to UN Conference on Housing and Sustainable Urban Development. That's Habitat 3, right? Now, what can be done? Can we stop here? No. Why do we need to stop? We need to move on. So here we can link it to Sustainable Development Goal 11. It talks about making cities inclusive, safe, resilient and sustainable. So here see, just because of one report, we have solved so many questions. Now we are ready to solve any damn question that comes from this particular report in our examination, right? Then just link it further. Let's move on to the static topic of ours. So what was the static topic? Urbanization. There, what do we need to know? What is the urban population of India according to Census 2011? So one report of ours, we started with UN World Cities Report 2016 and we have reached Census 2011. That is the beauty of extrapolation. Next comes this, let us discuss the other question. So what is India's ranking in the world in terms of global net cropland area according to United States Geological Survey 2017, right? So here, there's a mention which was there regarding this scheme or survey, which said that India has tremendous potential for crop diversification. Right now, immediately, what do we need to do? If we are doing a superficial learning, we would stop with this. We would just see the sentence. Okay, so this is it. This is a fact. No, this is not a fact. Move. You can build upon it. So take this crop diversification. Okay, it is needed. So do we have any crop diversification program in India? Yes, we do have. So that particular program, okay, it is a component of Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana. Okay, and now we would also study about green revolution because it is being implemented in those states that where a green revolution was there, right? So we see here that just reading a sentence would not give us any fruitful results. We need to keep running behind other things as well, right? Let us move on to the next question. Okay, so here there was a recent report which has brought out the diversity within India as regards challenges to health, right? So now immediately just open your mind. So where does it link to? It links to the health topic of ESI paper, right? So the report is titled India, Health of the Nation States is based on a study on disease patterns in India, and it compares the situation between. So they're talking about the comparison made between time periods, right? So it is 1990 to 2016. Okay, so we are not actually discussing the answers here. So now, what do we need to know? We need to know who has conducted this study, okay? And what does this study actually say? What are the important findings that are there, right? This study actually talks about disease burden in India. So we need to know how many percentage communicable, non-communicable, all those things would come into play. Then there comes a concept of quantification that is done in this report. It is done in the form of disability adjusted life years. Right? So now see, these are some new concepts that we are coming across only because the extrapolation that we have done. So when you go to the detailed MCQs, you will actually find all these things. So your job is done through one question. You have covered many things, right? Okay, so now what we are going to do is we are just going to have a rough look at the previous year questions that were there from budget. So now when we have a look at these questions, our mindset would change, our orientation would change, and we can give a direction to what we are doing, what we are learning. As I told you, extract value from the information that you are studying. Okay, otherwise it has no fruitful results. Okay, so India's GDP growth in fourth quarter 2016-17. Right, so this is a direct factual question. We had also seen a similar kind of question which is taken from this present economic survey 2017-18. Right, there was a startup scheme passage, like there was a passage which was given on startup scheme, and we need to identify the scheme and which sector will gain through it. So again, so they haven't just given one-liners on scheme, right? You need to know the background. Only then you can answer such questions. Okay, next comes, what is the GDP growth rate in India in 2015-16? See here, a very factual question. So we were doing this in the dimension of ours where we were seeing facts and figures. Next, International Solar Alliance is an alliance between India and which country? So this was a statement which was actually there in the Economic Survey of India. So we had actually pinpointed that statement and then extrapolated it, right? Fiscal deficit target for 2016-17. Factual question directly picked up from Economic Survey. Foreign trade policy, 3 questions picked up from the external sector segment of our economic survey. So if you see here, everything, if you are able to link it to your syllabus, again I'm repeating this, your half job is done, right? So friends, till now we have seen, we have actually very extensively seen how do we need to approach economic survey. So again, just let me give a gist of what we had seen, that the first thing we need to do is we need to be well aware of the syllabus. That is the first thing that you need to do. Okay. And whenever you're approaching a question, link it to the syllabus, keep in mind the relevant points that are important and go through the detailed explanations. So this is what we require out of you, right? So now on, what you're going to do, you're going to solve the MCQs, and from that MCQs, you're going to take away important learnings. Your economic survey will be completed as such, right? So if there are any other doubts, you can kindly write in the comment sections. Our team would be more than happy to help you out. So just have a look at the courses which are offered by EduTap. So EduTap is basically offering courses regarding RBI Grade B, NABARD Grade A and B. And we have launched a CTET course which is in association with GradeUp. We also provide free tests for RBI Grade B 2018 examination. In future, we are planning to come out with courses which is related to civil services, IBPS, AFO. And if you want to know more about our courses, kindly visit our website www.edutap.co.in, or you can drop us a mail at deepak@edutap.co.in. You can also give us a call at 814-620-7241. And currently, we are running a 15% discount on our RBI NABARD courses. So kindly use the coupon code of 15. So we'll be live for a few more minutes. Kindly drop in your doubts.